How do you build a better society? And how do you become a better person? I mean, these are huge questions, right? But for thousands of years, people have turned to one of history's greatest thinkers for the answers. So let's dive into the timeless advice of Confucius and see how his wisdom can guide us even today.
And we start with this beautiful, powerful metaphor. This is really the key that unlocks his entire philosophy. What he's saying is that true leadership, real influence, it isn't about force. It's not about running around doing a million things. It's about having a stable, unwavering moral core, a rule of virtue that just naturally inspires everyone around you. It's like gravitational leadership.
So where do we even begin with all this? Well, Confucius would say we start right at the top, with the art of governance. For him, a good leader is the absolute foundation for a healthy, thriving society.
Okay, so Confucius lays out these two very different paths a ruler can take. On one hand, you can rule with strict laws and punishments. And yeah, sure, people will stay out of trouble, but only because they're scared of getting caught. There's no real interchange. But if you guide them by virtue, by your moral example, something profound happens. People develop a sense of shame, a conscience. They don't just avoid doing wrong, they actively want to be better. They start to reform themselves from the inside out.
So how does a leader actually do this? Well, Confucius's advice is surprisingly practical. It's not about some grand, sweeping gesture. It's all about your character. Rule with dignity, and people will respect you. Show kindness, and they'll be loyal. And this one's crucial. Promote good people. When you elevate the straight and set them over the crooked, you're sending a powerful message about what your society values. Your personal conduct literally shapes the character of the entire state. So this idea of virtue then scales down from the state to the most basic unit of society, the family. Confucius believed that the family was the absolute bedrock of a stable society, and the glue holding it all together, something he called filial piety, basically the duty of a child to their parents.
But what does that actually mean? You know, it's a question his students asked him all the time. And his answer shows that it's way more complex and way more profound than just simple obedience.
Okay, so level 1 starts with respect for tradition. When your parents are alive, you serve them according to the proper ceremonies, the rites. When they pass away, you honor them with the proper burial and memorials. It's all about recognizing your place in this long chain of ancestors and descendants. But it's not just about ceremony. The next layer is about their peace of mind. Live your life in a way that the only thing your parents ever have to worry about is maybe you getting sick. Don't cause them stress with your bad choices or your debts or your drama. That in itself is a really deep act of caring. Then he goes even deeper. When another student asks, Confucius delivers this absolute knockout line. He basically says, sure, you can feed your parents, but you know what? We feed our dogs and horses too. If there's no reverence, no deep, heartfelt respect behind the action, what's the difference? Just providing stuff without respect is totally meaningless.
And finally, we get to the most subtle and maybe the most difficult part of all. It's one thing to do the chores or pay the bills, but what's the look on your face while you're doing it? True filial piety isn't some grudging duty. It's a sincere, cheerful attitude. It's in how you look at them, the tone of your voice. That, right there, is the deepest expression of love and respect.
All right, so we've got a virtuous state and a reverent family. But what are they made of? They're made of virtuous individuals. And this brings us to Confucius's ideal person, an archetype he called the gentleman. What in the world does that mean? No vessel. Well, think about it. A vessel, like a cup or a bowl, has one specific purpose. It's a tool. Confucius is saying the ideal person is not a narrow specialist. They aren't just a cog in a machine. They are a versatile, morally grounded, well-rounded human being, somebody who can handle all sorts of situations with wisdom and with grace.
So what's their code of conduct? It's actually really simple. Actions speak way louder than words. The gentleman doesn't go around boasting about what he's going to do. He just does it. His words come after the deed is done, and that's what proves his integrity. And this integrity, it extends to how the gentleman deals with other people. See, he forms associations. These are broad, open networks based on shared values and mutual respect. He's not threatened by different points of view. The small man, on the other hand, forms cliques, those narrow, exclusionary groups based on gossip and self-interest. One builds community, the other one builds walls.
So how does someone actually become this ideal person? Well, for Confucius, it wasn't something you were born with.
It was something you became through a lifetime of effort. And this brings us to the inner journey, a lifetime of learning and self-cultivation.
Right here, Confucius basically gives us his own spiritual autobiography. And it's not some rigid formula you have to follow. It's more like an inspiring map of a life dedicated to growth. It starts with a simple decision to learn at 15. By 30, he has his footing. At 40, he finds clarity. It's a journey that takes decades, and it all culminates at age 70 in the state of perfect harmony, where what he wants to do is naturally in line with what is right. It just goes to show you, wisdom is a marathon, not a sprint.
And what's the foundation of that entire learning journey? It's intellectual honesty. For Confucius, true knowledge begins with being brutally honest about the limits of your own understanding. Admitting "I don't know" isn't a sign of weakness. It's the first, most essential step toward actually getting wise.
And he really stresses this crucial balance. You can't just passively soak up information from books or teachers. If you learn without thinking for yourself, you're just going to be confused. But you also can't just lock yourself in a room and think your way to the truth. If you think without learning from the wisdom of others, you'll be in real trouble, trapped in your own little bubble. You absolutely need both, input from the world and deep personal reflection. So after all this discussion of virtue, family, and learning, it all comes down to this one final, powerful challenge. Knowing what's right is only half the battle. The other half is having the courage to actually do it. For Confucius, philosophy isn't just a bunch of ideas to debate. It's a way of life, something you have to act on every single day. And the question he leaves us with is, do we have that courage?